Hi, my name is Courtney Kroger, and this is my presentation on legal aspects of teacher evaluation. What is a teacher evaluation? Teacher evaluations are a formal process to review and rate a teacher's performance and effectiveness in a classroom setting. They are used to provide feedback to teachers and guide professional development, and most of them are completed by school principals and sometimes other school administrators or a school mentor. A lot of teacher evaluations rely on classroom observations, student work, lesson plans, and teacher records. It used to be that teacher evaluations were based upon a lot of student data and student progress and things like that, but they're starting to change how teacher evaluations are completed. So in the article, Teacher Evaluation and Issue Overview, it talks about how teacher evaluations are used to judge the effectiveness of a teacher. So most teachers help students learn more than a year's worth of materials, where some teachers are only helping students learn only half of a year of learning. So these teacher evaluations are helping administrators see which teachers are, benefiting students and which ones are not. But are teacher evaluations and the systems, are they useful? So in the reports, it stated that 99% of teachers ranked only satisfactory. So a lot of times a teacher may still not be, getting the highest score that they should be on a teacher evaluation, but yet they're still teaching and they're still not being let go from a school. So they have started to create some new policies. Some believe that these new policies will make teachers more effective. It gives teachers strengths and weaknesses, because each time after they have a teacher evaluation, they have to have a post-conference with their administrator, and the administrator is supposed to offer feedback to the teachers on what they can improve on and how can they help their classroom skills. The government is also starting to award states that implement new policies into their teacher evaluation, and the teacher evaluation is becoming more complex. So they're starting to look for more things in the teacher evaluation, such as classroom management, student data, student work, lesson plans, different things like that, so they can see a whole picture of what the teacher is doing instead of just one or two things. So there's becoming more things that the administrators are having to go over with the teacher, rather than just looking strictly at student test scores. Some of the teacher unions agree that better evaluations will give better feedback, and they're unsure about connecting pay and tenure to evaluations, and they oppose using standardized test scores for evaluations. In the National Education Association article, it talks about the Every Student Succeeds Act. The federal government no longer is involved in teacher evaluations, and it allows states to design their own evaluation systems. So all schools and school districts are now, most of them are designing their own evaluation systems to help evaluate their teachers in their district. The importance of this is that the Secretary of Education no longer has no control over it. It can't control the teacher evaluation systems, and it cannot define teacher effectiveness. Teacher evaluations are starting to rely more than just test scores, which is good for some teachers because some students just might not test well. Some teachers are getting based upon test scores of students in a subject that they might not even teach. So now it's based upon more classroom observation, administrators coming in, seeing how you as a teacher are in your classroom. And it's also based on student academic achievement. So how well are your students performing inside your classroom, not just on test scores, but just overall in general. There is a bargaining part in that article. So the ESSA preserves the rights of bargain evaluations. All teachers must be trained on the new evaluation system in their district, and evaluations must be meaningful and provide feedback to teachers. So like I said before, after the evaluation is complete, the administrator will meet with the teacher and discuss feedback on how they can improve their teaching, things that they did well, in ways that they can help their classroom management. In the article, Teacher Evaluation Heads to the Courts, it discussed multiple examples of when teachers take school districts to court regarding their teacher evaluation. So for example, Cook v. Bennett was in Florida. Teachers in non-standardized test subjects are judged unfairly. So like I mentioned before, teachers who aren't even teaching specific subject areas were getting judged based solely on standardized test scores, and that is very unfair to their evaluation because they have really nothing to do with that subject area. In the Louisiana Federation of Teachers versus Louisiana, the law allowing evaluations to be connected to pay scale was unconstitutional. So it's just talking about how a teacher who might score really well on their evaluation might have a higher pay scale than someone who may not score as well on their evaluation. And then Leff versus Clark County School District in Nevada, tenured teachers were being fired due to ineffective evaluation ratings. In my school district, we have an evaluation system called the E4E, which stands for 4 elements of an effective educator's evaluation tool. So, if you are new to the district, meaning in the first 3 years that you're a teacher there, or if you have 3+ more years of experience, every 3 years you are evaluated. So it starts off with you performing your own self-assessment on how you think that you're performing as a teacher in your classroom. And then you set a professional development plan up for yourself and goals that you want to meet within that year. So before your evaluation, you're going to have a pre-observation conference with your principal discussing what your goals are, your development plan, and then you'll set up 2 times with our principal to have an evaluation completed on you. One time actually she sets up a specific time of when she's going to come in, another time it's just kind of a surprise evaluation, which I think is very important because we've talked a lot about in this class how so many teachers can pretend to be these awesome teachers when they know somebody's going to come in to watch them. But if they don't know when somebody's coming in, then they're getting based solely off of what is their normal performance like. So I think that that's very important. After the evaluation is completed, you'll have a post-observation conference with our school principal where she sits down, gives you feedback on what you did well, feedback on what you can improve on, and goes over all of these, it's pages worth of standards for our evaluation system. And then she'll also ask for a collection of artifacts on our standards or on our professional goals that we picked. So we'll have to give her artifacts from our classroom on how we were meeting those goals. And then we go over the completion of summary rating form. Now, if you are not a new teacher or an experience of 3+ years, so those off-cycle teachers, they do not get evaluated every year. And actually, the only thing that they get done or completed is walkthroughs. So our school principal or different administrators in our district will just randomly come into your classroom. It's called an e-walkthrough. And they'll be in there for about 10 to 15 minutes just kind of observing what you and your students are doing. They have different check boxes on their evaluation to talk about the Marzano's 9, what your classroom management tools are, what kind of technology you're using, what are your students doing, if you're in whole group, small group, things like that. And then they offer some feedback on the bottom of their walkthroughs that you can reply to, or they might ask a question of, why are you doing something this way, or offering feedback on how you can improve your teaching. So if you're not a new teacher, you don't have to get an evaluation every year. Some recourse teachers have in my district. So after the evaluation is complete, teachers must sign the documents indicating agreement with the content on the evaluation. Now, if they don't agree with what is on that evaluation, they don't agree and they feel like they are judged poorly, then they can submit a written rebuttal to their district supervisor within 2 weeks stating that they do not believe that they had a fair evaluation, and that evaluation can be completed, again. So how are possible inaccuracies addressed? It starts off with, going to your teacher association or your principal or your immediate supervisor first, and then it would go to the superintendent and then to the school board. And what can you do if you feel like you are unjustly let go from a school district? It then becomes a lawsuit. So an example of a court case dealing with school districts, I picked the Vergara versus California. In this court case, it challenged that several of California's statutes were very unconstitutional regarding teacher tenure, layoffs, and dismissal. There were 9 public school students who felt like they were not getting the proper education that they deserved because the teachers at the school that were teaching there just were not offering a very good education. So they felt like, that teachers just had a poor evaluation system, that they weren't being let go if they were terrible teachers, and so they wanted to fight that. They argued that the statutes in place allowed ineffective teachers to retain their jobs, and they also argued that ineffective teachers were denying students their right to a quality education. So in August of 2014, the judge originally sided with students, stating that yes, these teachers were not offering the best education to these students, and that the school districts were just keeping teachers on even though they were not offering the best education to their students. Even though students were not getting a proper education, these teachers were still being allowed to teach within the school. But in April of 2016, the Court of Appeal reversed the decision, siding with the statutes. And then in August 2016, the California Supreme Court declined to review the case, and the statutes still stand. So those teachers are still teaching within the school district, and those students are still not getting the most beneficial education that they can, because like I mentioned before, sometimes the evaluations might state that a teacher is only satisfactory, but those teachers are never dismissed. One of the articles talks about how only 0.8% of teachers are ever let go, even if a teacher evaluation is not very good. So that's not great. As a future school leader, I will follow legal issues associated with the evaluation process by acting ethically and appropriately, following board policies and procedures, following the negotiated agreement, staying up to date on current laws and practices, and offering feedback to all teachers on evaluations on how to improve their teaching. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.